What if it was true? Has to be, or I wouldn't be here right now. I remember when I was 5 and I was in the room with my brother and I started hearing like a bunch of yelling, a bunch of screaming. I heard my mom crying and I went out and I looked and I seen my dad literally on top of my mom, just punching her. So I run to the kitchen and I grabbed a butcher knife. And I remember running up behind my father. He was on top of my mom, kicked him from behind. He rolled over and I put the knife to his throat. And I remember telling him, you hit my mom again, I'm gonna kill you. Elementary school, fighting all of the time. I was suspended almost every other week. I knew my mom was like for real about what she believed because you could hear it. My mom was the perfect Christian and then my dad was the Christian on whenever. It was like night and day. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks straight. And for 2 weeks straight, I was in that hospital. And then in '93, I remember when she died. And everything shifted completely. I stopped talking, I stopped dealing with people. Got real angry. My dad, I guess he thought I was crazy. Thought I was a little off in the head or whatever, and he sent me to Riverside Hospital, the children's psychiatric unit. I was getting food 3 times a day. And for the first time outside of my mother, outside of my big brother, I had friends. So for 6 months, I was at Riverside. My father came and picked me up, and he took me to a place called Hannah Neal. Hannah Neal was an adoption home. No one came and got me out of there. That was the summer I was initiated into the gang life. For me, it was home. For me, it was safety. For me, it was security. For me, it was food. For me, it was money. For me, it was clothes. It was in 8th grade, I got a page. I ran down the street. Everybody was standing on the corner just talking. The guy who took me in, the guy who I honestly looked at like he was the greatest person in the world. They told me that he had a gun pulled on him and he was shot right here. There was like 4 different gangs all in Walnut Ridge's parking lot because my OG was shot. So that's when I just started fighting even more. By the time I was in 11th grade, I'd probably been in over 300 fights. And I remember talking to one of my uncles who worked with the police force. You just hit number 7 on the gang profile list. There was a nightclub called Flickers. I knew the DJ, I knew the owner. We were all friends. And I started recognizing faces all the way around. The DJ cut the music and he said, y'all ain't gonna jump nobody in here. Y'all could take this outside. Buick pulls up, they got the flag hanging on the antenna. The guy looked at me through the driver's window and he pops the trunk. Trunk goes up and his gun's hanging from the trunk. Next thing I remember, I'm waking up next to a trash can on the side of Kroger's. My sister came to church one day and she says, I know y'all got rehearsal tonight, but I just want you to come to church with me. Pastor of the church, I promise you, out of 500-600 people who's in this church, I felt like I was the only person there. And then I remember accepting Christ that night. That was the first time I felt a love that ain't come from a person. Problem with it being on a Tuesday night is because Tuesday nights is when we had set meetings. The gang gets together. We talk about the community. We talk about what's going on, who's moving in, what's moving. I remember saying, God, if you real, you gotta get me out of this. I can't do it because I know the only way you get out of a gang is they gonna kill you. Because I held rank, I'm standing right next to my OG. And the whole time he's talking, he's looking at me. He said, you don't belong here. As far as we're concerned, we're excommunicating him. Nobody's touching. I should have died I don't know how many times. But God had a plan for my life. The Bible tells us that Christ didn't come to the world for the healed, but he came for the sick. If it wasn't for him, dying on that cross for me, I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you.